generation back in the day.
Getting you for just a...
The spin-offs I wasn't as much of a fan of because I like the original. Yeah. So
See, look, they don't have
just like anything else, when it gets successful, they just got, oh, well, we need to have a CSI Miami too, and a CSI Istanbul, and a CSI Kiev. You know what I mean? And it's like, no, the first CI was what I liked.
I like that background image we got from the screen.
Yeah. That.
Rec Center.
That is on Rec Center.
Oh, are you the stream background? Yeah, I found that on Flickr. It's free image, fortunately.
Cowboy Bebop.
So
What about what's the?
You know that was an image from
where
a
they're like gangsters
Antifa rally, right?
Islands,
Yeah,
it's like they're all smugglers and stuff.
Hey,
You see
huh?
that too?
You do realize that was an image from
It's been a
that
long
one?
time, but yeah.
It's
Yeah,
not
I
an
saw
image
that.
of anything. What are you talking about? It's just a picture of the stadium with a nice sunset.
Okay, I thought you were talking about the picture that was up there.
Yeah. That's my wallpaper. That's from Ferguson.
Wow.
I mean, to be fair, it's a lot easier to go through it.
I'm gonna run a Windows VM.
It's not very hard to make like the
Never run on Windows.
if you were to make a movie out of it,
Never run
the
as
special effects required
It's all about
to
the
do
video.
anime stuff would be just outrageous.
Oh my god, the Full
So
Metal
it's more
Alchemist
of a-
live TV show that they just released on Netflix.
I haven't seen that.
Is that good? For what?
I have heard.
It looked good in the previews.
I have heard nothing good about it. Like plot wise, they're okay.
About what?
But just the
What about
the
Death Note?
level of
What's
special
released?
effects are just so disappointing.
What's been released?
Full Metal.
Right?
It's probably
Yeah.
better than Iron Fist.
That's
Full Metal
true.
Alchemist.
Iron Fist is when Iron Fist
Like
first
live
came out,
people.
it was actually
With
pretty
live
decent, I
people?
thought.
Problem
The
is
first
that-
few episodes,
And
but
special
now
effects too.
and with the
But not
fingers,
like
the way that it
anime.
worked in the fingers and stuff,
It's pretty
it's
much
like,
like
yeah, that's all.
That sounds weird.
The problem
I
is
don't know
that
how you would
just
do that show with
everyone
real people.
in Japan has seen
Oh,
Full Metal Alchemist. They've all liked it.
One of the animes is really good.
So, John?
Like, that was the quality of work they had. It's just like severely disappointing for what you.
Yeah. How about Death Note? You watch the anime there? Death Note?
I've seen some of that.
That looks good.
Keep
Hey,
keep
whenever
going with it, dude.
let me
because
know when we're
if you
live.
get
No,
through
I
some-
We are
Only
live
matters
on
less.
YouTube, I think. I messed with the YouTube stuff a bit, and I'm not sure if it's
It took
actually
me.
live.
It took
Alright,
me
this thing
a
is gonna
while
save
to
so
actually
much
get
battery
past
life
maybe
in my
episode
phone.
4. But it was because it was like it seemed like it slowly started.
Did I
Yeah.
fucking?
Once it
I didn't
starts,
fucking plug in my
it's
laptop. That could have been
insane.
bad
And then I
very
was
shortly.
like,
There are
I think I
apparently
watched
actually
Oh, I
some
blocked
related
it.
live
How do I
actions,
unblock it?
The Japanese ones, or
Yeah.
Okay,
It's just
it's
whatever
just
they try to
slide
Americanize.
Can you actually watch it though? Is the
You
question.
know, the Death Note
I
they
just
made
gotta,
over here, it was all
make
about
sure you watch it.
the,
Okay.
Dragon Ball
Okay.
Z, they tried to-
I think it was live before that, but I set up a thing where I scheduled the stream to be at 6:30 today.
So
Nice.
Maybe a little bit, but
it's hard to compete with animes, though, man. I like the
Not here
animes.
this
you
much.
know,
What's up, Ryan? Oh shit, dude, how you doing?
did you?
Oh, nice to see you here, bro.
Resurrection of the Battle of the Gods.
I also use my phone.
Yes.
Did you watch that movie years here?
Oh wait a minute, no.
Hey, you better have a Linux machine on you.
Battle of the Gods.
I got that extra one.
So Battle of the Gods.
I don't know.
You guys are all downloading VMs for Linux.
Did my internet just go down?
Y'all better have Cali. Y'all better have
Snap is friggin'
Free.
Whatever. But people
Like on D drive.
And then there is.
my right
And
side.
then there's Resurrection
You
of
go
the
on
Gods.
YouTube video, you just watch Linux.
He actually killed Goku, except Goku was like, sorry, I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
I mean, it is.
Manjaro is pretty much.
I will agree, mine is extremely custom.
All our shit.
But all the graphics.
But that just means I'm more in tune with my system than you.
Probably just not.
Yeah.
It just means that you know our
I know like this system like the back of my hand.
And I know Debbie has to.
Well, I've seen all the movies, all the goalies and all
If you're
the.
gonna watch Super,
I'm talking about the specifically this system. I probably know this one better than you know yours.
just because it's the same material.
Sure. All right, it's working now.
AJ, you wanna fight?
Yeah.
Fight Club now.
Think we're gonna.
We'll wait
First
for
rule
the
of
Fight
5 minutes or
Club.
something.
See what I mean?
Speak about Fight Club. Everybody shuts up.
We'll give it like 6:35 and we'll get things started.
Can I teach?
What it does?
Yeah. Oh, you have anything to go?
What goes underneath?
Yeah. You should bring some content, dude.
I got
That's what we gotta do. I don't mind.
So tonight at 9 o'clock, there's a game show going on. It's called HQ. And they're giving away $250,000. And I have a code that you guys can use to join. And if you use this code, then
Wait. Use my code. Wait a second.
No, use my code. Here,
No. Use my code.
This is a popularity contest now.
Look.
Wait a second.
No.
He's got it all wrong,
You don't
guys.
wanna
Don't
use
listen
this
to him.
code. I will
Hey guys,
split the
I'm
money
gonna
with
sign
whoever
up for this
uses
right
my
now, and I'm gonna give everybody else invite codes.
And also how much?
I will split my money with anyone.
You like get more entries?
No, it's
You
like
get an extra
answer
life.
questions, and when you get a question wrong, you lose a life. But if you answer all your questions, then you have a chance to win 250.
Just all you gotta do is ask me, and I'll send
It's
you
BS, dude. It's BS.
My code is Bailey in the name 33.
That's the wrong code. The code you want is OpsGuy3.
That
That code doesn't work. That code will get you.
Should we look up all your accounts, Ox guy? Again?
So it's kind of like who wants to be a $10 in
I will
it?
split the $250,000 when I win.
I've yet to win any money in this app. I'm just doing it.
We need to make an app that's just like that. Only they'll make a little bit more money than this other one.
There's
That
actually
way,
that app
we'll
already exists.
sell
It's
the
called
data.
Cash Cow. My brother has made 6 cents in it.
We'll ask them to give us permission to, on their phones and stuff like that, and then we'll just sell the data, make millions
Hang on.
just off the data.
No.
Or you could just.
That's where all the money.
You could just.
No, why not just sell it directly to the Russians? I mean,
Apple's
you know,
I was gonna say China.
What do you mean?
China, yeah, China, have you caught on to the fact that we're about ready to go?
I would not trust a third party.
There we go. Bailey.
To mine crypto on my phone.
Yeah, no.
No, this is the official one of the club.
They just put in.
Come on. I'll use yours. Cut that shit out.
And he says, the only way to
Because
deal
they
with
allow
our
the miner to
South
take up
Korea
more resources than they
North
meant
Korea is to
to. It was basically like
That's his position. That's
using
the wrong
putting the
right?
the
So you just got put in, so you got that, and then China goes over and says, "Oh, well, these North Koreans are our friends." Now, if it's a situation that we attack, we'll have freaking China too. And you walk to the door,
Alright.
do a preemptive attack. They'll sell it to that 30% of the people will do it. And
Hey, yo, do I have to go? Okay.
The second in Iraq,
which had like extra features, and when it was open, from once it did, they wrote it so that it just
China has been the only reason North Korea exists is because of
all of this is
China wanted a buffer between the United States and so it generated.
Well, it was
because they were they were worried on us.
All right, guys, it's 6:35, and I don't see many more people showing up, so I think we'll go ahead and get things started. Ryan, no more North Koreas. All right, so if you're new, we have a couple of committees you can get involved in: content, finance, public affairs, outreach, and recruitment. I know we have one good new guy here tonight, so you want to go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody?
Hi, my name is Angel. Nice to meet you guys.
And you're here because Ryan.
I'm here because it's Ryan's birthday and he had a meeting and just to see what you guys are doing, see AJ in action.
Cool. Well, thanks for coming out. You're always free to get involved if you want. We have a couple projects we're working on as a chapter. We are going to be working on a malware sandboxing lab once I get the static IP for our server on the 10th floor. We're going to be putting up kind of a cyber operations center / cyber range in a lab, hopefully in the next couple of months if UC gets their crap together and actually gets our equipment in a room and remodels everything. But classic academia, they say it's going to take 1 week and it's actually going to take like a year. So we'll see how that happens. Other announcements, we have $1,000 coming away soon that we got from Northrop Grumman a while ago that was put into the wrong fund by UC, but now we have our account, so that should be deposited soon, which is going to be awesome because we can use that to go to like capture flag competitions, buy some cool stuff for them. You know, we'll see if any of you guys have any ideas on what we can use that money for in terms of like competition stuff, competition equipment. Y'all just let me know, and we can probably get some cool shit. Lab space design has been finalized for 516 ERC. There's going to be 8 workstations in there, 3 server racks, 2 55-inch plasma screen televisions, and a bunch. Huh? A partition. And we're gonna have a bunch of other equipment in there for tinkering with, like switches, access points, and a bunch of other stuff. So that's really cool. They finally are gonna hopefully be meeting, I think early April, finalizing the equipment. UC knows what they have to do with the room. They just have to do it. And hopefully I can be getting access to watch that soon. What's up?
Can we get a mini fridge?
We can get a mini fridge.
I already have one.
We have a
Then
big
where
brick.
is it?
It's in the
Kind of in charge, make sure it stays clean.
It's in the
Yeah, we'll put it in the 10th floor room. The lab room's gonna stay lab room. So in other news, I know Corey's gonna talk more about conferences tonight, but we're gonna be going to Cincinnati Bsides May 12th. Registration hasn't been opened yet. April 6th. April 6th is when registration for Bsides will be open. Hopefully, like last year, they will have another free bar, open bar with free drink tickets. That would be awesome. And hopefully they have more awesome presentations for us to go see. It's always a good time. So we'll definitely be talking about that more as the 6th approaches. And I think we know some people who are running the event, so we may be able to get us free tickets, which is awesome. Like I said, the static IP for our server should be coming soon. If UCIT just gets their crap together and realizes that I'm not trying to host a website, I just need a static IP for a server. And then tabling is going to be happening this Tuesday in Baldwin, I believe, which is right downstairs from here. I think we're going to be handing out like some donuts and some beverages. I don't know what that beverage is yet, but we'll go back to your OC3 thing. Yeah.
Aren't we planning on having an event the following Friday after tabling? Were we planning on having some
Like a social event?
We're going to do some sort of social event that Friday. Greg said he'd get back to me with a room, but he hasn't had a chance to do that yet, I guess.
So after tabling, we'll have a social event.
Yeah, we'll have
Of some sort.
something
Just
that
figure it out
Friday.
for everybody. It'll be next Friday.
Next Friday, and then also I know that Miles has expressed his want of maybe an FCC game night or something. So someday we could probably all go together and go watch an FCC game. So anyway, this is important stuff. April 3rd from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. We're gonna need people to come and help us out for tabling. Here, guys. Here, we're gonna need people to come help us out from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. for tabling. So if any of y'all want to volunteer, just come around to the table, stand, hand out flyers, talk to people who come by. Please let me know after the meeting, and then we can kind of work that out. See, this was a slide not made by me, so we're gonna have a table for people to stop at. Yep, okay. We plan to have a drink and some Bill's Donuts. Do you know anything about Bill's Donuts? Apparently they're cheap, good donuts.
They're like one of the best donut shops in the country.
Okay. Cool. So he's getting Bill's Donuts. We're gonna have some dank donuts. And I'm gonna be putting together a little demo. I'm thinking about setting up like a rogue access point that with like come to our table or something like that. So when people walk by and maybe if they're checking Wi-Fi, they'll see some interesting things. I don't know exactly what I want to do for the demo yet, but if any of you guys have any recommendations, feel free. We could do kind of what we did last week. Maybe search like some usernames that they have, or do like some open source recon. Only if they want to watch the demo. For the most part, we're gonna just be saying, here, sign into our Slack. You can have a donut. Here's a flyer. Tell your friends. So all you guys should also please tell your friends that if they're interested, they should, at a bare minimum, just come talk and get a donut, just so we can kind of spread the word, get some new blood in here. And yeah, we're gonna need volunteers. So I think Greg might put together something for the volunteers, but just kind of a show of hands. How many of you guys are able or free at some point between 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Tuesday to help us out? Show of hands. So like 3, I know I can. Okay, cool. Well, stick around and we'll figure this out. OC3.
Hey. So the OC3 website, the deadline for that is theoretically like tonight/tomorrow. So that is, I am having fun. That is definitely not a stressful deadline in the slightest. But I can sort of show what it looks like right now. Let's see. Here, let me, I'm signed in as admin. It looks weird when you're an admin, so let me make an incognito window. So this is what it looks like. We got this fancy little flippy thing here. We got all these buttons. I don't know. There's content is slowly making its way on this site. That is the big thing that is not done yet, but most of the stuff is at least sort of here. So yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah, and this is the website for the state of Ohio's cybersecurity initiatives across the board. So every single college in Ohio is going to be looking off this website that Hayden's been making. So he's doing a great job. He's dealing with a lot of crap from business community. Yeah,
it's going to be huge. It's just bringing everyone together to make Ohio the cyber corridor, which is really awesome that we have. That we're kind of making it here. So thanks, Hayden, and this looks really good on us, and this should be good publicity for the future. Hopefully we can get more money out of this too. Maybe people see us, we made this. Okay, weekly content. Corey has some cool stuff about conferences.
Yeah. So I want to start by saying thanks to Chris for giving me this idea. I got a lot of slides to get through, so I'm not necessarily going to go over every single conference, but I believe we've posted the slides this week. So feel free to go back through and look at them again. So why should you go to one? There's a lot of pretty obvious reasons. Networking, cool competitions, technical talks, training on specific tools. In general, it's just a lot of fun. I highly recommend that you go to one if you haven't before.
You'll learn so much.
Yeah, so the first thing we're going to start off with is Bsides. They kind of got their start because they were finding that a lot of times if you tried to submit papers and make presentations at places like Black Hat, you were getting rejected not because your content wasn't good, but because there just wasn't time or space at the conference for you to get in, and so that's how Bsides got its start. There's a lot of them just all over the country. I believe there are also some in other countries as well, but I know that at least in the US there are a bunch of them. Some local ones that we have are Columbus, Indy, and Cincinnati. We already mentioned the Bsides Cincy is on May 12th. Signups for that are going to be April 6th. In the past, a ticket has only been $10 a person, so it's really cheap to go to. It's only one day, so it's not a big time investment. I highly recommend Bsides. If you go to their website, just following that link, you can find a calendar of all future and past Bsides events, so you can kind of take a look there if you're maybe interested in some other ones that might be in the area. This next one, it's called 2600. It's not a conference so much as like a monthly meetup, and what the origin of 2600 comes from the code 2600. Way back in the day in like the 60s, if you used this Captain Crunch cereal box toy,
like the 80s.
Yeah, it would play this sound at 2600 hertz, and what you would do is it would get you operator access to the phone line, and you could do all kinds of crazy stuff like make free long distance calling and all that. And that was really where this started. That was like a big thing that got a lot of people into the idea of hacking.
That's hilarious.
Started way back in the day with phones. I really cannot stress how much I recommend going to that YouTube link. That is a documentary all about Code 2600 and how its influences can still be seen today. Obviously, we've got this weekly meetups around 2600. We've got monthly newsletters on it. Like it's been a pretty big influence. I highly recommend you check it out. The website at the bottom is Cincy 2600. That's just the local Cincinnati 2600 group. They meet first Friday of every month at the Brew House here in Cincinnati. You'd have to check to see what they plan on talking about on their website, but there's also one in Dayton and Columbus. So if you guys happen to be up in those areas, you could check that out as well. Cincinnati SMBA, Security Masters of Beer Appreciation. That is not a joke. That is legitimately what SMBA stands for. This one is another weekly meetup. Their meetings aren't on an exact date, but they do post them ahead of time, like several months ahead of time on their website. They try to get corporate sponsors who will pay for their beer. So it's free beer when they go, and they just talk about whatever the latest topics are in cybersecurity when they go, kind of like what I do when I come up here and I talk to you guys. They get to talk and debate about stuff. If you're free on those nights and you're interested in talking more with some professionals in the field, that's probably a pretty good meeting to go to, especially if you are 21 or older. Central Ohio InfoSec Summit. It's coming this May around the same time as Bsides. This one's quite a bit pricier than Bsides, though. It's also a two-day affair, $225. It gives you a ticket for both days. I couldn't find a lot of information on what they do, but I did notice that Brian Krebs, you guys might recognize that name from Krebs on Security. It's one of my really big sources that I use for the information I bring to you guys. He's going to be one of their speakers there, so that might be something to check out, but again, it is a bit pricey.
Krebs on Security is awesome.
Yep.
Highly recommend check out the website out.
CircleCityCon, it's out in Indianapolis. This one's quite a bit cheaper. A regular ticket is $150, but since we're all students here, it's only $100 a ticket, June 1st through 3rd. It's a yearly conference. They are very much focused around their training and their teaching classes that they offer at the conference. You can check out more on their website. This one maybe a little bit less because it's in West Virginia. I wouldn't recommend this one quite as much, but it does seem pretty good. It's growing fairly quickly. They are now getting about 200 attendees a year. I can't really give you a whole lot other than they are very focused around data forensics.
That's cool.
So if that's something that interests you, this might be a convention to go to. DC 850 is another monthly meeting group down in Louisville, Lexington, I believe. And you can go visit them if you're very interested in things like penetration testing, or parkour apparently is a very big interest of theirs as well.
Huh.
Yeah.
Penetration testing and parkour.
Yep. DerbyCon, it's a really big convention. It's also pretty close to us. Runs out of Louisville, October 3 through 7. They advertise themselves as being very good for beginners or experts, a very diverse attendance. They've been running for 8 years now, and they sell out every year.
So fast.
Just this past year, they sold out within 3 minutes. But they are working on a solution to get a bigger space so they can have more attendees next year. So probably something good to look into.
This is something that I want to bring us to sometime. I was thinking about possibly in the future we could probably get a small presentation together. I hear the best way to get into DerbyCon is to say, hey, I'm going to give us a talk for beginners, or a talk like this. So.
Next one, DefCon. They've been running for over 10 years. They seem to be pretty popular. I think we've been to DefCon.
We've been to DefCon. Yep.
So I didn't find a lot of information on their website because it kind of sucks. There's a lot of broken links right now.
Yeah, it's not been like a website.
Yeah, so maybe you'll get more luck when it gets a little bit closer to when DerbyCon 12 is supposed to go on. This one is pretty big. It's called ShmooCon. Sounds a little funky, I know, but if you can't necessarily get to DefCon and you can't afford Black Hat, this is probably the convention I'd recommend you go to. It's out in DC, and it was started by some really smart people who'd helped develop things like OpenSSL, Snort, just some really big tools. The next one's in January 18th to 20th of 2019. They sell out every year. It's only $150 per person, so it's a lot cheaper than DefCon or Black Hat. Speaking of Black Hat, it's going to be in August this year. DefCon's about $250 a person.
Yeah.
So it's not a lot more considering, but anyways, DefCon, it's going to be in August this year. They advertise themselves as being the most technical security conference out there. Very much focused towards industry. Maybe not, like if you're a beginner in the field, maybe not the best convention to go to, but if you're very technically skilled in the field, probably a good idea. The only major downside is if you want a complete access pass so you can go to all their conferences and presentations and stuff, it's over $2,000 a person, so...
Generally people who go to this, they get their employer to pay for it.
Yeah, if you're going to this, you're probably getting an employer to pay for it, but there's the link if you want to check out more. DefCon, this is probably the #1 convention I recommend you go to, just right above ShmooCon. I just love saying that name, ShmooCon. DefCon, the name actually comes from defense condition. Mostly, he was inspired by the movie from the 80s, what was it called? War Games. War Games. So that's going to be in August this year. If you happen to find yourself at Black Hat, because DefCon tickets are cash only, you can actually buy the ticket to DefCon at Black Hat, though. So that is one other plus for Black Hat.
They're the same week.
Yeah.
DefCon typically, they also archive the videos of the presentations. So even if you're unable to make it, you could go to and actually watch the presentations. But what that doesn't give you access to is the actual code in which they usually compile and actually hand out to the various presenters, the proof of concept code behind some of the talks.
That's not too common.
Yeah, so DefCon is definitely highly recommended if you can go to it. If you can't, they still have a lot of information for you out there. Just because I was going so long already, I just went ahead and I made some honorable mentions for other popular ones. We are an OWASP chapter, so I definitely would recommend the AppSec conference. The RSA conference is pretty big, especially for encryption. I'm sure everyone here has at least at some point probably heard of RSA encryption. Those same people decided to make a conference. TourCon, it's a play on root, Tor. Usenix Security Symposium, that's a pretty old convention. They've been going on about as long as DefCon. And InfoSec World, those are my honorable mentions. If you want some help finding just events in the area, here are a couple of links for you to check out. Obviously, you can Google this on your own, but hackermaps.org is pretty good, but it's not a 100% complete list, but it's got most of them in the area. So.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks, Corey. Yeah, so now we have a lot of events that we kind of all know about that we can try to go to. I would love to start going to more conferences,
especially if we can get this funding from the AIC, because we can always make a good argument saying we're going there to compete, because we are. Cool. So, Chris, we're going to be covering scanning today. This is probably the last little bit of stuff kind of like scanning we've been doing. We've been doing a lot in recon, and now we're finishing up with scanning, and I think after this, we'll be moving on to some even more interesting stuff, the fun stuff, yes. So,
to the cybersexy content.
Alright, so,
super important.
Yeah, this is basically going to take all of our information that we gathered before and turn it into known exploits that we can then use to get into systems. So, this is what the topics look like. So, we previously finished our intelligence gathering section, which is where we went over how to get information on a target from open source intelligence, which is like websites that they log into, things like that, and directly from them. So logically, we should take that information and use it against them. So, closer look at scanning. Scanning is taking a look at the system and then finding exploitable targets in it. It comes logically right after reconnaissance in the, this is what you're called again?
The kill chain.
The kill chain, yeah. I forgot. So this will reveal for us the internal network topology. So if they have firewalls, we should be able to find it using scanning. Their network services, so if they're using email servers internally, we should be able to find out what machines those are running on, and actually we can find out what version they're running depending on what software we're scanning. And we should know all the machines on the network that we can safely find.
Before we go on the next slide, I just want to pose a little question. Since we've been covering a lot of reconnaissance stuff, does anyone want to throw out some tools that you guys know of that you could use to say find out what operating systems these computers are running? You want to throw it out there?
Armitage, Metasploit.
No, Metasploit, Armitage.
Stuff on the Cali Tools website.
Yeah, InMap is kind of a big one. That's probably the #1 for finding out OSs.
Yeah.
Sorry?
What?
Bing, yeah. Bing
Yeah.
always. So, Masscan. Yeah. ZenMap. It's a nice network topology picture.
Alright, so then we're going to take vulnerabilities that we find from the previous 3 items on this list, and we're going to use them against the systems. So there's 3 types of scans. Actually, there's 4 types of scans. There's PDF scans, which is when you turn a document into a digital format.
So totally scam.
The dumb shit.
There's network scans, which is what we've been doing with things like Nmap and ZMap's just done that. MassScan is a very, very fast network scanner. There's port scanners, and those are typically the same types of programs. Nmap can scan both hosts and ports to find services. And then there's vulnerability scans, which are, you know what services are on the network, and you're looking at them very closely to find out how you can get into them.
Sniper did that a little bit, but today I'm going to show you guys OpenVAS, which is really good at finding that.
Alright. So, what is a vulnerability? In this context, a vulnerability is also known as a CVE, which is a document detailing a common vulnerability and exposure on a piece of software. So these documents are actually published in this central repository. I don't think I put the link on here. It's at cve.miter.org.
Giant CVE database.
It's huge. You can download the whole thing and it takes like 5 minutes because it's just text and so much. And you can use CVEs, which detail information about a piece of software that's affected and how it's vulnerable. And then you can find proof of concept. So proof of concepts are basically canned exploits that you can throw against that software right there.
A lot of proofs of concepts will get you 95% of the way there, but you gotta figure out the last 5% to actually get them working.
So CVEs are actually conveniently numbered and stored in this very large central database at miter.org, and they are tagged with what software they affect. You can, oh, there it is. Yeah, so these CVEs are all on miter.org, cve.miter.org, and they are the CVE authority, so they assign all the numbers. You have to request one from them when you find a set of vulnerabilities. And typically your vulnerability scanners like OpenVAS can actually provide you with exact CVE numbers, which you can then translate into proof of concepts, which you can probably find shellcode or something based on that.
And there's a really nice tool to look for the actual vulnerability proof of concepts called Search Exploit. I'm going to show you that after I show you OpenVAS.
Yeah. So very common tools for this. Wow, this is not the slide I thought it was.
I think it's the next slide. Down.
All right.
There.
I did too.
I don't know. Oops.
I messed up. All right. So common network scanners, we already went over this. There's Nmap, MassScan, and DNmap, which is actually just distributed Nmap, which starts a bunch of them at once. May as well use MassScan at that point. Port scanners, so Nmap, MassScan, and DNmap again, they are essentially one and the same. However, for vulnerability scanners, there's a couple different routes we can go when looking for vulnerabilities. So OpenVAS is, I believe, more web-oriented, which will look at applications and services on the network and try to find ways into them. Barbecue SQL will look at a website for SQL injection possibilities, I believe, using a huge predefined list of known SQL error throwing strings. Bed, I can't remember what bed does. Nessus is actually, it was an open source scanner, but now it's a commercial project, and OpenVAS actually came out of that as the open source continuation clone.
It was around like 2008 or something. Nessus decided to start selling its stuff and made its code closed, and then OpenVAS kind of branched off from there.
Yeah. And then Linux is actually a scanner that you run from within a Linux machine that will search all installed programs for vulnerabilities.
And bed is a package that looks for buffer overflows via just shooting a bunch of
it's a fuzzer.
Yeah, it's a fuzzer.
Yeah. Okay.
And a fuzzer, for you guys that don't know, is really you just so I guess it's hard to explain this on a high level without getting too technical. But on a computer, you have your buffer, and then you have your stack, and you have your registers, and you can utilize inputs to programs to, say, have a perfectly sized length input that is just enough to where you can put some code or put some registry value or some kind of pointer on the buffer overflow, or on the stack by overflowing the buffer.
Yeah.
So fuzzers do that for you, check a bunch of different lengths until you find the perfect length, and then put in some shellcode. And that's something that we'll get into more when we start actually going for the vulnerability and develop.
Fuzzers, they're not just limited to that. It's fuzzers are just anything that just generates a lot of it just generates random inputs to throw at a program, hoping that one of them will break it, or random inputs that look like a certain program. Because you also hear of fuzzers on web APIs and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so different types of fuzzers, but that's for buffer overflow specifically.
Yeah. So going back to that, buffer overflows, you can actually send enough data to a server that you can mess it up on the hardware side. And that's kind of how all that works. It's a very fun topic.
All right, so now we get to the interactive cybersecurity stuff. So let's get up our Kali Linux machines and get on them. I'm gonna go ahead and plug in
Please
my laptop here. Woo.
Please work. I have just had the worst time with the streaming stuff today, so I'm just praying that your laptop just goes up and there is no issue in it.
I need to pull the slides up again, don't I? Because we don't have that switch. We can just use that to flip over.
Yeah. You can just pull the cable out of there and plug it into here.
Let's see. Cool. Okay. All right. Okay. Actually, we'll just keep it like that. So let's all get to our terminals on our Kali machines and run apt install OpenVOS. It's very simple.
Docker image.
Or you can use the Docker image. Yeah, but we could just install it on Kali machines. If you don't have a Kali machine, I would highly recommend looking at their Docker image. I didn't even know OpenVOS actually had a Docker image.
Neither did I.
So, cool. So, those of you that understand Docker and want to work with that, totally do it. But for now, we're going to go ahead and just go through it this way. So, let's go ahead and run that. And once you run that, you should be given a password after it's all installed. Actually, you install it. And then once it's done, you just run openvos-setup with nothing else. And then openvos-start. So I'll let you guys have some time to go ahead and do that. If you need any help, just let me know and I'll come around and help you out.
Yeah, my OpenVOS is saying it's not on repositories.
Huh?
I think OpenVOS is not on repositories.
So, do you have Kali?
Yes, I'm on Kali.
OpenVOS is anybody else getting OpenVOS is not in the repositories?
I got it in my repository.
Yeah,
But it's
I
got
thought I had it on a different Kali that had
Could
it.
this
So,
be
I'm on my VPN, so
on your VPN?
and it's still doing it.
What could be what?
Interesting. So if it's not there, let's do this troubleshooting live. OpenVOS.
They're not going to be blocking it.
I seriously doubt they're going to be blocking it.
Yeah.
Actually, if we should be able to go to our OpenVOS page.
No, this isn't actually.
All right. Click on this one. All right. This, I think, is what we need to do.
Password is correct, has not changed.
Yeah. So if you go to their page, you guys can't see that worth shit. Sudo add apt repository ppa mrev or whatever you pronounce that. And then update. If anybody else finds a different way, I think you might have to do the Docker image. Huh? Where'd you go? Oh, cool. So, huh. And if, try doing OpenVOS-start too. See if it's already installed. I don't know if it is or it's not.
Yeah, I installed it, but I don't have just an OpenVOS.
Then do OpenVAS dash setup, OpenVAS dash.
But there's not like this.
And then
Yeah, setup. Interesting. So, can't store.
Huh?
Does anyone else have problems?
recovery, another one.
Yeah?
I was getting the 404.
You getting a 404? Let's all do some Googling and figure this out. Do you need a Linux machine, Jason?
No, I just don't. It's going to be like 10 hours to get
I can help you out with a VM sometime. It's not that hard to get a VM. Let's see. First one to figure out this problem is quick.
Like an actual cookie?
Maybe, yeah. See here. Wait, I did.
Dude, it works on a bunch. It doesn't work on Cali.
It should work on Cali. That's how.
Maybe it's on Cali.
To be honest, I don't know what to do. I might be
Sounding orange.
No, you're not doing it. It's definitely on the boss. It works on the boss.
Alright, I'm going to copy this post into our Slack channel in general. And I think this might be what we need. Has anyone tried doing this and then doing the OpenVAS?
I can't even have it.
Has anyone tried this? Yes, no? No? Can I get some feedback?
We're working on it.
No.
Okay.
I don't want that installed.
And yeah, we do need to post the song. I just posted another link in our Slack on possible way to do it. Get it done.
And they're using apt-get. Can you just put apt install? Use apt-get. That's the apt-get is install.
Maybe grab the Docker image.
What was it? OpenVAS
Setup. Then start. And when you run OpenVAS dash setup, you need to make sure that you copy the password it will give you at the end of it.
Packages, from package, replace it. I'm scared to try it. We would refer to yeah, sorry.
What is calculated this? Man, I'm bad at math.
You got problems with colors? No, like I went to the thing just in the same trip with
You forgot to carry the story just add.
What signatures were invalid?
like the. I think that's what
That app repository said it didn't work. Alright, so what about that link I posted in Slack? Yeah, check that out. Because I think that might be the actual fix to this. And then let me just see if there's a freaking Docker image we can just grab real quick. Because if there's a Docker image, you guys have Docker.
To get Docker, you have to add a repository.
I did sudo it. I didn't
Like you just say Docker.
do apt-get.
Alright, so if you are on Windows or do not have Linux or this isn't working for you, I recommend grabbing Docker really quickly. So I would download Docker. It's just puts up containers, and then inside those containers you can have basically small like operating systems, very lightweight. It's not like a VM at all, but it is like a VM, just without all of the resources needed.
And let me know when I should move on to showing about how to work with it.
It's a VM, except some people will get mad at you when you say that.
Yeah, it's like kind of a
By
VM.
definition, a VM.
It's a container.
It's a very light VM.
Very, very light VM.
It's got the essentials.
Like Arch? Anybody?
Oh god.
I've-
No.
Had to throw that in there, did
I figured out my problem.
You got it working?
I did a new WP or whatever.
Someone trying to install a bunch of packages.
I tried.
And
I tried getting our right from me.
What should you do to get work?
I guess that's what
Okay. Okay, yeah. I think Justin found the solution. So go to Slack. It's like the first Stack Overflow link. One command line, and then you should be able to get it in there. Otherwise, Docker's probably the way to go. But I did not. I'm not familiar with setting that all up.
Oh wow, that worked. Look, your face when the Arch user repository works and
Did it work?
Manjaro's user repository didn't. I have to use your.
So OpenVOS working? OpenVOS dash setup.
I have a. Wait, you said it installed everything.
Just type in OpenVOS dash setup. Okay.
That's weird.
Yeah, I don't know.
There's a COI.
Repository.
I'll wait. That's one bill. So we'll see processing
Yeah,
triggers.
repository.
Oh.
Okay, cool. So did you run the setup?
Actually, it's already done. See, it's already done.
Is it working? Like,
Let's see if it'll do that. And if we're gonna talk about this.
yeah, that's it. So did you press after running the setup? Yeah, so shoot roll up here, or whatever terminal you had it in. Look for here. Generate password. Yeah. Grab that.
Maybe run application updates.
Just admin and that.
There's a manage certs option. Should I do that?
Cool. All right. So you're in it. That's awesome.
It said there was a
Did
CLI.
you get it added? Yeah. Have you tried that before? Yeah, I just tried it. The add that repository, top one.
This is
That one?
the one that
So you're in there.
is
Okay. So do apt update.
this.
So sudo apt update, I guess. Oh, you're right. It's root, so you don't
See, it's app, sorry.
just apt update.
It should be app.
So after you grab the repository by running that command line on Stack Overflow, you need to update your repositories. So just apt update. Okay. Then you should be able to do apt install OpenVOS. Yes. Hell yeah. Cool, cool, cool. How are we doing over here?
Yeah, I can't get
Don't do that one. Don't do that one. Because we figured that one wasn't working.
So what does that?
The top link, the last Slack thing. I should just pull it up here, shouldn't I? Boom.
W get? The W get?
We'll get.
Gosh.
That's a 0.
So hard to see this.
Is that a big O?
So Stack Exchange.
It's a big O. Is that a
Ryan, Angel, did you guys get it working? All right, cool.
Mine's not, but I'm working.
This. So after you do this, make sure you do this. Don't forget the pipe.
Good, good.
Oh wait, you're doing the wget?
Do this one, yeah. Don't do the other one. Yeah, that one wasn't working. So works for you that too.
Do I need
to set it up? Did you run OpenVOS dash setup?
I don't need to do
OpenVOS dash install.
Yeah.
Or apt install OpenVOS.
Is that -0 or -0?
It's gonna take a while. Yeah. Shoot, probably use it. Yeah, a bunch of shit work if you just do this WPS.
I'm having to get used to the app.
You know what the equivalent of app key add is?
You have to set your package manager.
Yeah.
No one knows
Didn't
commands
search
for
the
Pac-Man.
Are you kidding me? Available.
No one uses Pac-Man, come on.
I'm just gonna try to do it.
I could like maybe give you the up command in some cases. I'm never gonna have the Pac-Man.
Is that still installed?
I'm never going to.
Ooh, you're just a pleb.
Did you want to try to get the document as well?
If you use Pac-Man, you can figure out the command on your own.
Getting the ISO, the expenses. Or do you have some?
Okay, run app list upgrade to see that. So-and-so package can be upgraded.
Okay, run this wget-q-o or try.
So it's apps, search,
Q, O,
these are available.
always root on Cali. So
Go through that one.
I always forget.
It's just manager. Where's the area?
Just let me do this thing.
Main line tools for open boss. So open boss /
Could press Control C if you want to.
So
and before
I'm wondering if I have to use
before you
so
run that
app
through.
add
Before you run this.
app install. Maybe not because
I just want to see if you can
yeah.
sudo. Okay. If you could do this on the Ubuntu, that's awesome.
Yeah, I am. That's bad.
So sudo
Okay.
boss.
I need to get better though at
The needed thing.
usually change it. So that I
Dash.
don't
So open boss.
out of root because I don't need it, and then go down to the root because I need to get out.
Dash.
Yeah. Well, when I pull out, I go into maybe like definitions. Now I use it.
Alright, so then app update. Keep remembering app. Just sudo app space. And now what that's going to do is it's going to update all of the value
You
codes.
can do that on the initial install.
Yes. You didn't have to for this, but I would highly recommend it. Just to,
Because it's a pain in the ass to have.
yeah, so just do the Kali VM thing later. Yeah, we can at least get this one. Sorry for the wait, guys. Yeah, I'll show you these full scales of just. And then once that does, do.
What is this?
Was it setting up?
Still rebuilding. App list changes names. Execute.
This is for, what'd you do?
So you have this.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, let it run, do its thing. Did you guys get it?
We got a kernel. Got a kernel there.
For what would you do?
Did I just get down to an upgrade?
What'd you do?
I did.
Just see if yeah, what's it solve with us.
Trying to install the class.
What? Just
Yeah, more. So those of you that have it installed, go ahead and open vos-start. So once you run the setup, have you guys already got the setup done? Here, do the wget. This worked on your button.
I've done that.
This you
Like
did
10
this
times.
Did you update after it?
Yes, I did. Really? Every single time. Yeah. My colleagues didn't.
Oh, this is that issue I called out like a couple months ago. Right, I found it right when it happened.
What?
This solution.
This is really odd, dude.
This is just a general issue with Kali.
Yeah, I mean,
This was for a certain build of Kali, wasn't it?
It was just they changed the key that they signed their repositories with at some point.
No, I don't think this was that. This is
That's what it looks like.
And I know really everyone
should be covered.
Oh, it's your computer. I don't care.
Okay.
It's not my problem. Good. I was like, oh, I'm gonna enter my password for you.
All right. All right, so I'll go ahead and just start explaining this, if you guys don't mind.
You guys don't mind if I start explaining this? Yes? No? Okay, you got it? If you don't have it right now, just go ahead and like someone who does have it up, buddy up with them real quick. And see if we could just kind of go over this. Because at least I want to show you guys how this tool is used and how we can use it with Search Exploit. So there's a couple of things on this dashboard that you're going to be brought to at the beginning. Over here, you can see our total number of CVEs. So these are all of the exploits that have been added over the past, years or so. And you can see it's been spiking recently. A lot of new CVEs have been added. Over here, we can see all of the different types of security bulletins. It refreshes every 30 seconds. So you can see how many of them are high, medium, low, or just a log. So when OpenVOS scans for vulnerabilities, it is going to put those vulnerabilities in order of priority of how dangerous they are based on the CVE released. So a high one would be, this allows you to remotely execute code. So some pretty bad ones. Medium might be just a possible kind of exploit, nothing super bad, but you want to look for anything medium and above. Another thing on the dashboard is if you've done any previous scans, what it's going to do is it's going to show you a nice network topology, all the machines on that, and if you found vulnerabilities for those machines. So you're probably wondering, how the heck do I do a scan? So you're going to go up to the scans, and you're going to go to tasks, and then, well, we see my previous scans. You could go up here to this little wizard, this little, I guess, purple wand, and you can do Task Wizard or Advanced Task Wizard. I'll go ahead and do Advanced Task Wizard because all of us here probably will be able to understand this. So it has this stupid little, like, I don't know, cartoon character up here, but it tells you a little bit about it. So you can name your task or your scan. Typically you can name it for whatever you are scanning. You have a number of different options. Discovery would just, be like an in-map scan or some kind of basic network scan. Full, fast, and ultimate. Full, fast, and very deep and ultimate. I mean, honestly, these are just going to depend on how many ports it wants to iterate through. I believe if you do the full, very deep, ultimate, it's going to do like full port sweeps. It's going to do full CVE checking. It's going to get really in depth. You can also just do host and system discovery. So a lot of times it's nice to just get your preliminary scan out, find all the hosts on your network, find what systems are running, and then narrow down your range for running the scans, the deeper scans for actually finding the vulnerabilities. You can start a schedule if you want these tasks to run at a certain time. So say if you're responsible for keeping a number of computers safe, you want to know, okay, well, I want to run my scan every Monday this time. This is really cool. OpenVOS will actually log into services that you provide the login information for so that you can say, hey, I'm going to give you SSH credentials into this box, and now you'll be able to be doing even more in-depth vulnerability scanning. So if it's your box, you're trying to secure it, you want to get in there and you want to check out everything you can, that's where you would do the SSH credentials. You also have SMB credentials. I believe that's what, for mail servers, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. SMB, mail server credential?
No, SMB is that's Samba, or
Samba.
It's Windows is like FTP.
Oh, okay, yes, yeah. Like, so this is like a file transfer protocol for Windows. This is good to find because you can kind of dip in and see what other vulnerabilities might be on the systems that way. And ESXi is a virtual machine platform by VMware, so you can give credentials to scan through virtual machines on the ESXi instance, and you can also choose where you want that report sent out to. So this is very, very, very helpful. We'll go ahead and close that guy because I don't need to run a scan. I could go to one of my old scans This is when I was doing Franco's red team. So once you run a scan, it'll give you a little status. It'll tell you the quality of, I forget what the D stands for. It's quality of, I want to say discovery.
Quality of deeds.
I want defense. Is that what it is? Quality defense? So QOD means that it's basically how confident that they are that this vulnerability is on that system. So what did you say?
The D is detection.
Quality of detection? Okay. So I only care about like quality of detections above 70%, or ones that I'm really positive that they have that vulnerability. But I mean, honestly, it doesn't matter too much if you want to just get a whole swath of things that you can kind of poke around and look at. You go ahead and you click results after running one of these scans. So this is nice. It'll give you a little word map of different types of, I guess, detections that is found, or CVEs of things. This is kind of useless, honestly. You can see that on this scan, there is only a few really high risk things found by a little red bar. You see there's a few on the 7 and 8, I believe. A lot of 5 medium priority stuff. A lot of logs. A lot of stuff that isn't necessarily a detection of a malicious thing. And then you could come down here and we can maybe, let's just see all the high ones. Oops. Go back and hit the high ones. Boom. All right. So you see 7 from this scan. These are really high quality detections. And this is a FTPD mod copy CVE. So I can click on this and it will tell us all about this vulnerability. It'll tell us how it can be exploited and how it was detected, how to fix it, and here's the CVE number, right? So this is where SircleCityCon comes into hand, and this is a super easy thing to grab too. So if you're following me so far, I'm just going to kind of show you the workflow of kind of penetration testing. So after you have your scan, you've identified your CVEs, you know what you're kind of going to be looking for, you want to get SircleCityCon. So this should be easy for all of you guys. Again, I can't imagine that Kali shouldn't do this. So apt install exploit DB. What that's going to do is, if you don't already have SircleCityCon, so you should also just try to type in SircleCityCon space -u and before typing the install, if you already have it installed, maybe. And here's the SircleCityCon thing here. Let's go move this to workspace 3. Let's go to workspace 3. And we'll zoom in. Okay. So this is SircleCityCon. So say at vulnerability was for like FTP. It might give us a certain here, might give us a certain version. Pro FTP 1.3.5 release candidate 3. So let me just search Pro FTPD. You don't need the quotes. Pro FTPD. I believe that's what it was. Ah, okay. And ours was 1.3.5. So once you grab the SircleCityCon database, what it's going to do is it's going to pull down all of these proof of concepts and it's going to store them on your computer so you can actually see, here's a Java proof of concept we can run. Here is just another text for taking advantage of one of these CVEs. So once you kind of found out exactly what needs to be looked at, what needs to be attacked, how you're going to do it, well, you can go to SircleCityCon, type it in real quick, and it's going to give you basically everything up to date on new vulnerabilities for that piece of software. So it's really easy. If you ever asked to do a red team for something, this is a nice basic way of going about it. OpenVOS scan, SircleCityCon. Anyone else semi following along with this? I know it was tough to get OpenVOS all installed. Yeah? You kind of following along? Cool? No? So, that's pretty much that. Let's see here. That's basically just the workflow right there. There really isn't much else to say. Do we have any questions? You go to reports again, see all your reports. There's just a lot. You can get lost in this. You can see all of our highs across all of our reports. This is at Ryan's house. Yeah, get him. So.
Everyone port scan Ryan's house at once.
Yeah.
I guess that wasn't.
So we kind of understand the workflow though, guys?
They make a word class for you?
It makes a little word cloud for you, yeah.
Oh, wow.
So basically, that is the ins and outs of vulnerability scanning. OpenVOS is free. It's easy to update. You can add in more. You could say port lists. So I only want to scan a certain set of these lists. You can add in credentials, save your configs, add in targets. I think there's even, yes, feed status. You can see all of where it pulls from. Pulls from Greenbow, Community for NBTs, OpenVOS, SCAP feed. So these are just updated feeds of vulnerabilities that it'll pull in, and it'll update when you update OpenVOS. So that's basically that in a nutshell. I know it's 7:35, so we've all been here for an hour, but you guys can feel free to hang around. At this point, I will help anybody else out that wants to get this working. Other than that, yes? I'm sorry? They got it installed? Okay, cool. So, un momento then. So, also, I just want to reiterate that if you are interested in helping out with our tabling at Baldwin, please message in the Slack. Also, can someone post the attendance sign-in sheet? We need to do that. Okay, Chris is. So we're going to post the attendance sign-in sheet. Everyone should sign in. I guess something else I should say too.
Bailey Eminem 33 for HQ.
Oxguy 3 for HQ.
Hey, YouTube's up right now. We can.
Could anybody also post in the Slack a link to our campus link? Because we also need everybody who's coming to our meetings to join us on Campus Link, just because we're finally official now, and that makes us look a lot better. So, other than that, hope you at least learned something from this.
Where did it go to?
The link that gives you our site.
Does it really?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Pretty sure that's not campus link either.
Drop a hand.
That's cute.
Wait, should have started and then
Oh, I mean that
being able to back up.
I'm not previewing these links.
Yeah,
where
some page.
you could do the WD.
Oh, yeah, for the people.
So what do we
So you already like covered all the way. No, I'm explaining. It acts weird.
So it's basically what this did was I was all the time to
No, that's what I'm trying to do.
when you want to do that. And now try to install POCs.
Where is this?
Try it.
Okay, so you did have the wget
I can either if that might work.
Alright, I'm gonna kill the stream.
They're just trying to.
YouTube.
Right.